Welcome to Black Conscious Nation, The Awakening. Family, today we're going to have a quick tutorial on names that are given to black folks in America. I'm going to go through them one by one. Some of us probably already know this, but I'm doing this for the younger generation. Here we go. African American. An African American is an American in the United States who has citizenship, but the origins are from Africa. Simple as it can be. I'm African descent, but I am an American. An African diaspora is somebody who has come from Africa through the slave trade, but their ancestors were spread abroad in all the Americas, North America, South America, and so on and so on. Mexico, Jamaica, all that stuff. They're all over the place. Those are African diaspora, and to be clear, they have to identify as African. FBA, Foundational Black American. What that literally means, foundational Black Americans built this country. Our ancestors were brought from Africa, came here, gave free labor, they built this country from the ground up. That's just simple as you can be. We are descendants of the foundational Black Americans, our ancestors. Continental African. A continental African is somebody who was born in Africa, has African citizenship, who came to the Americas on their own free will. What's different where the African American and the African diaspora, they came against their will to the Americas. But a continental African came from Africa to all the Americas on their own free will, seeking a better way of life. People of color can include black folk, but it usually means to brown-skinned people like Southeast Asian, Hispanic, and all those factors, Indians and such. People of color is basically black and brown. Black and brown. Black, African descent, and brown. Minority, in my opinion, is one of the most dangerous phrases to the black diaspora and the continental African. Why is minority so dangerous to the black diaspora? Well, let me explain. Minority literally means everybody. It means white women, it means LGBTQ, it's just a facet of things. The better way to say anybody who is basically not white. Did you notice I said white women? Though she is white, but she's a woman and she's a protected class. What gives the white woman advantages to get a better place in jobs and such, which we have seen this many times in my 40 years plus in this Massachusetts, which there is a book coming out and the title will be My 40 Years Working in Systemic Massachusetts. I will have a lot of stuff to talk about, but for instance, I'll just throw this tidbit. For years, when I first started working as a young man, I always wondered around the mid 80s and 90s why I started seeing a lot of white women on construction sites, a lot of white women being mechanics, a lot of white women who were managers and all that, but I didn't see no escalation of black men or black women as much. Well, that's because 1965 Civil Rights Bill. I always thought that bill was just for black folk, but when you read that bill, it is for minorities, everybody who is not white. So in my opinion, the phrase minority does not really help the black diaspora. It helps everybody abroad. So I think it's important that we understand there's nobody come to save us. We need to save ourselves. So the best way to say it, when black Americans got to a place of power, economic and educational and political power, that's when the systemic system had to come and stop it. So if you look at history in this country, every time they came to destroy what we had is because we elevated. And every time we elevated is because we came together and worked together and built our own community. We kept the dollar in our community. We bought, sold, and trade amongst ourselves and outside, of course, because that's business. You go outside. But we took care of home first. So the phrase minority is a good phrase, but minority means the bags for everybody. I want to challenge you. In the inception of this country to where we are now, can you name anywhere this government has done just for the black diaspora only, that benefited just us? I can't find one thing. But I can find the anti-Asian hate crime bill, which I want to talk about that. Nobody deserves the right to beat, maim, and kill or rape anybody. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And the anti-Asian hate crime bill, they deserved it. They really did. The only problem I have with this, not the bill, but with the systemic system. I, in history, look at the history of this country. I look at the history of this country, the timetable from inception to now. There is no other race in this country who's been more brutalized than the black family. With our anti-black hate crime bill, do we not deserve it? There's nobody who's been more abused in this country than the black family. So the phrase minority, again, just says everybody's in the bag, okay? Even your white women who they already have the bag, but they got double leverage now because they're minority, because they're a woman. And so now they get more rights than most of us. And what I mean by that? Well, the Caucasian woman, she already has the systemic system for being white. She has the leverage there with the systemic system. But now, when that civil rights bill was written for the minorities, because she's a woman, she's a minority also. So I call that double dipping. Now, don't want you to get this twisted. Everybody who's in the protected classes for the civil rights bill, they deserve it. And we do too. Now again, I worked in Massachusetts 40 plus years, and I've seen some stuff, and I attest the system's broken. I believe we have the midterms in 2026, and it's my suggestion and my belief that every African American in this country should unenroll and be independent. Get away from your Republicans, get away from your Democrats. And when you do that, they see that many black folk leave their parties, we can have bargaining power. If we have 40 million black people saying, if you want our vote, this is our demands. And if we know when I get in office, I see what I can do. There's too many candidates in this world for you to play games with the black diaspora. We don't give free votes away anymore. Now you understand. The black diaspora is not to be played with. We want policy. So between the next midterm and the next presidential election and so on, listen to our demands, or the same thing will happen again. Those are facts for the black conscious nation, the awakening.